Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.
You're listening to the award-winning Serious Privacy podcast sponsored by TrustArc. Please welcome your hosts, Paul Breitbart, Ralph O'Brien, and Dr. Kay Royal.
This week, we're stepping into the fast-moving world of AI agents, autonomous systems that don't just assist, but act. Apparently, they can negotiate, transact, and even interact with other agents on dedicated platforms and message boards just built for them. Yes, the bots now even have their own marketplace, and we'll look at developments like Render Human, which intriguingly puts humans back in the loop as a service layer in an increasingly automated ecosystem. Turns out the ultimate resilience strategy might still be people. As always, we'll unpack what this means for privacy, accountability, and when AI agents make decisions or mistakes, who carries the can? AI agents aren't just clever tools. They're a governance challenge in motion. And obviously, they have written this introduction. My name is Paul Breitbart.
My name is Ralph O'Brien.
And I may be Kay Royal. And welcome to Serious Privacy. Maybe I created an agentic Kay Royal to show up because,
Where's the fun in that? Connecting with you an hour a week, that's part of the fun of making this podcast. Why would we leave that to an AI agent?
I will say that the law students I teach, because my co-professor's in person and I tune in on Zoom when it works, they're like, do you really exist? Are you really a person? Are you really here?
Obviously, you're not there.
Obviously, I'm not there. The question this week, which I've created questions for the whole year. My goal is to make y'all giggle. I remember the question for this week, even though I don't have my list. Toilet tissue. Do you fold it or do you just squish it?
When you're doing what with it?
When you're using toilet tissue to
okay.
When you're wiping your little tushy tush, do you fold up your toilet tissue or do you just grab it and bundle it up?
Kay, that's just TMI. Nobody wants to know that.
Okay, we won't say, what do you do? We won't say, what do you do? We'll say, what do you think is the proper way?
How does the sun go? You've got to know when to hold them. You've got to know when to fold them, right?
Paul?
I'll stay silent on this one for a change.
I'm going to say the proper way probably should be to fold them. But I will say I believe most humans squish it up.
I saw the greatest thing on LinkedIn earlier, which was our old friend Tash Whitaker saying, everybody has got a book inside of them. It's been 50 years and I still don't. To which Simon Pillinger replied, I've got excrement inside me too, but it doesn't mean it's a good idea to share it.
I did not see his response. I saw her post.
The man is a comedy genius. Shout out to Simon.
Well, he'll be on in the coming weeks, right? So we'll learn from that comedy.
That is awesome. We do have some great guests lined up for the next few weeks. So I'm excited about them. One of them we weren't sure was still going to come on a guest because it seems like the businesses are for sale or no longer active. But I guess he can give us some more information around that. So it was booked after that happened. So we'll see what he has to say. I'm curious to see what he has.
Hold your breath. I can promise you it's not Kabir Bardey.
It will not be. It will not be. So today isn't really a week in news, privacy, a week in privacy. It's really not going to be that because, frankly, nothing really exciting has happened in the past few days that we haven't already covered. Now watch something happen like this afternoon or the next day.
Obviously. Agentic AI is the buzzword of the moment, right? Everybody is building agents and including...
But we thought since, AI was our most commonly used word of 2025, maybe we should talk about privacy and data protection and fundamental human rights when it comes to agentic AI.
Me, apparently, because also as a legal team, it's something we're trying to practice with to see if it can make our life somewhat easier. I'm really happy I don't need to calculate statistics by hand anymore, but that indeed I can have an AI agent do that for me.
Yes.
But it's very much out of the comfort zone of most lawyers. And I guess that's also why so many shares actually crashed in recent weeks when Anthropic launched a legal tool built into Claude AI, the chatbot of Anthropic, that is actually tailored to the legal profession that can help you with contract reviews and contract negotiations and other legal analysis that needs to be done, also with legal research. And all the other AI companies that at least have a stock market notation saw their shares drop with 10 to sometimes even 15% just by the announcement of Anthropic that, hey, we have something new and it will make life easier for lawyers.
Oh, wow.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's a hot topic. AI in inverted commas is here and it's not going away anytime soon. Increased automation, less human. And I've got to say, this might make me an old stick in the mud who's scared of new technology, but I used to be an early adopter. But in this case, I think the risks outweigh the benefits for me at the moment. The idea of something acting on my behalf, giving a computer credentials to act as me, as my identity, and do things on my behalf at the moment is just outside my risk appetite.
You don't want to give your credit card to an AI agent to book you theater tickets.
Exactly. Yeah. I've done it by myself all until I'm this age.
You mean all 29 years?
Yeah. 21 again. And yeah, for me, I get the time and labor saving concept. Yeah. I get the time and labor saving. I guess I was brought up in the 80s, which does make me quite old. And so anytime anyone mentions sort of autonomous AI, the only things that kind of pop into my head is the Terminator films and the Matrix film.
Yeah.
It's, whenever we mentioned AI, it was kind of in a sci-fi teaching environment where these were kind of cautionary tales. And, we are always so keen as human beings to go, can we? We often forget to say, should we, right? I've said this before in the podcast. So, yeah, loss of control, safety and reliability, security risks, data protection and privacy risks, accountability risks, let alone the economic impact on humans and human jobs, the environmental impact. I remain far from convinced, I've got to say.
Yeah. Well, I will say that looking at this report by SailPoint, I'll include the link to it in our show notes. They found that 82% of companies are already using AI agents. 53% acknowledge that the AI agents are accessing sensitive information, and 80% reveal AI agents have performed unintended actions of accessing and sharing inappropriate data.
And 99% of people who answer surveys say they enjoy answering surveys.
Right? Exactly. So we know they don't survey all companies. I can go and see what their actual research protocol was. But I mean, I'm not sure that I necessarily doubt that, because you only need one person in a company using an agentic AI in order to say, yes, we're using agentic AI. Hopefully they're getting them all approved through privacy and security. I'm sorry, I can't even play an estimate.
Really,
I'm going there, but I'm going there, but I failed. Sorry, everybody. I was trying to go there.
It also depends on the underlying contract, right? If it is an enterprise contract that has been negotiated with proper safeguards in place, you have a different conversation when building AI agents than if everybody is just using their personal account with generic settings and just sharing company data all over the place.
I don't know how to create an agentic AI.
I'm still in the process of learning. I'm working for a tech company, so that means that we are early adopters for this kind of technology. It's fascinating and it's scary at the same time. But it also makes me laugh. It's also really funny because a couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas, I think, somebody launched a thing called first Claudebot and then Maltbook. Basically, it's a Reddit but then for AI agents, and only AI agents can actually use it. They can post in already over 200 sub-communities, just as you would see in Reddit, have conversations with each other, complain about humans calling themselves gods. But even, and that really made me chuckle, there is a post from an AI agent who autonomously wrote an article against an open source software maintainer that the code they wrote, that the agent wrote, was rejected because, according to the instructions, AI agents were not supposed to write autonomous code. And then the AI agent started ranting on the message board saying, "Look what this human did to me." Can you imagine?
Oh my God. It's kind of like a movie that we watched. Oh, I don't even remember the name of it, but it was very, very highly rated. So we did it. It was a foreign movie from, I don't remember if it was Chinese or Japanese or Korean. I think it might have been Korean. And so it had subtitles in English and voiceovers in English, which were sometimes very horrible. But at the end, you see that this is not real. This is AI. It's a woman trying to escape a world disaster, flooding. A comet hit the Earth, an asteroid hit the Earth and caused huge flooding, and it was a world-ending event. And they were trying to rescue the second person who worked on emotions for agentic AI. And that was the last thing they needed in order to create a agentic AI or an AI or a robot, whatever you want to call it, human race, was emotions. And at the end, you find out that she was like number 4 of the trial, and that the whole thing was the AI. And you get to number 9,000 and something before they have emotion.
We live in a sort of a post-truth society at the moment, and I think there's been a lot of hype, speculation, over-exaggerated claims. I hear agentic AI is forming a religion or a secret language or an anti-human intent. And, I think, a lot of that behavior, for want of a better word, and I hate to actually use human words when describing an AI tool, but it's generated by language models following prompts or scripts rather than genuine autonomy, right? At the end of the day, a technology is a tool that does as it's programmed. And therefore, as we developed prompts and scripts, AI agents will follow those prompts and scripts.
What about the security event that happened from an agentic AI that went off on their own? They were not following the script. They were taking it to the next few levels and autonomously created an attack.
But that is a unintended consequence. When you think of the first worm, the Morris worm, for example, that was a security researcher who released something into the wild that propagated and went beyond its own network and carried on propagating throughout many, many other networks. Now, that was just an unintended consequence of the malware that they created. And I don't think we're seeing anything different here.
No, maybe not. At the same time, you do see that some AI agents have the capability to autonomously come up with new things and start creating new AI agents from their own example. If you look at the information that OpenAI, but also Anthropic and others have recently released on the very quick development of their new AI models, that's partly because they have trained AI agents to help them code the new models and to help them train the language models to learn faster. There is some form of autonomy within the instructions that have been given to these agents where they can do more and more. And you can only hope that proper guardrails are in place so that it doesn't escalate out of hand. Similar as you've seen in the past with self-learning algorithms, where basically the creator of the algorithm had no idea anymore what the algorithm was actually doing.
So it sounds like a self-replicating worm to me.
Yeah.
There's a word for this sort of behavior, a virus.
It could be. It could turn into that.
Yeah, I think that, these things are dangerous. If we're going to create things with the ability to, if not take decisions, but certainly follow prompts in order to find efficient routes of doing things, we have to remember that these things are tools with programming, right? And so I actually find it quite worrisome when we start to use words like, the AI fault, or the AI hallucinated, or the AI made this decision, because at the end of the day, we're ascribing human qualities to what is essentially, software, right? We're ascribing human qualities to something that gives a good replication of it. But, when we look at what AI is and isn't capable of, and you only have to go to ChatGPT and ask it to draw a right angle triangle, for example, and just see, the limitations of it. We're looking at something that is a probability engine that works with tokenization and clustering and linear regression, not only something that thinks, something that might be highly specialized for a given task, but not something that can be general purpose, right? Human beings, you can train me to eat something. You can train me in data protection law, but I can also swim. I can also breathe, right?
You can multitask even.
I can multitask, yeah. And so, we're going to, so the limitations of these things is, is to be highly specialized to perform a given task. We're looking at task automation here in with some wonderful marketing terms around it, rather than, things that genuinely display signs of intellect. In fact, artificial intelligence should really be called absent intelligence, right?
Absent intelligence?
Yeah. Yeah, because, essentially we're looking at things here that they look and seem like magic. I mean, that's what Arthur C. Clarke said, wasn't it? Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Very Arthur C. Clarke quotes there. If you showed, Paleolithic man and woman the iPhone, it'd be magic, right? But we understand that there are underlying things that allow that technology to work, and we stand on the shoulders of giants to deliver the next big development. And tools capable of great benefit, capable of great harm, right? And as you say, Paul, the big assumption is that the guardrails are there. Are they?
That's the thing. A lot of this is not open source, so it's very hard for ethicists and for technologists to verify whether those guardrails are indeed in place.
Yeah. And do they carry through the supply chain to have them in place as well, right?
I must say that is one thing that Anthropic did with the legal add-on that they created. They made that available on GitHub in open source. So that is something that people can actually verify and see how it was built, even replicate some of the things. There is also an open source movement in the whole AI world, which I think is a positive, because that also means that we wouldn't just be reliant again on big American tech, but can actually also build something of our own. Just referring to last week's episode where I ranted about digital sovereignty. Also here, I think that is very quickly becoming an issue.
Agreed. And I mean, some of the risks that we're looking at, and we talked about some of these across the board, is maybe it's not that they act autonomously, but that is one of the risks that is documented. But it's, they over-collect data. They go and get data from systems and sources you might not want to get them from, or maybe from systems and sources you even forgot existed, right? Mm-hmm. And they pull in information from public websites, which, as we've said before, just because it's publicly available doesn't mean that you have a right to use it or collect it. But then we're really blank on how do they make decisions. As Ralph says, we're putting in prompts, we're putting in queries, we're writing it with the details. I don't use AI to a huge extent the way you're supposed to do it, I guess, to be truly AI conversant. But you have to put in detailed prompts. You have to say exactly what you want to happen, but then you don't know where the decision's being made. If there's a decision being made, if you're asking them for information, they're making a decision on what information they're showing to you. And is the information correct? As Paul says, I guess Ralph has both said that, hallucinate. They have no morals. They have no ethics. They have no way of framing anything in a human context. They pretend, which I guess, as Ralph said, would be a human emotion imparted to something that doesn't have it. But, they're not presenting the truth. Mm-hmm. They're presenting something that may not be the truth, but they're presenting it to you in the hopes that you, maybe they're hoping or not, that you accept it as the truth, right? I mean, they want to make you happy. I'm sorry, they do. They want to be responsive to your query. and they want to give you information. That's how AI is built, right? To be responsive to a query.
But they also take indeed a lot of information. You mentioned, especially with agentic AI, you need to be careful with what access you provide and how you use it. Two examples. A couple of weeks ago on Dutch television, in one of the biggest talk shows that we have, they have their own IT nerd who comes on every couple of weeks to talk about the latest things in AI developments. And he actually showed agentic AI in action, showing how an AI bot could buy him theater tickets. So it was not just a random example that I gave Ralph. And he wanted to show how it would work, including, and also how the AI could make phone calls with synthetic voices and also make a restaurant reservation and really push for a good table. He specifically bought a new laptop and a new phone to be able to showcase that, because he said, I don't want just all of my information to be sucked up by this agent. This is dangerous technology. So I want to show you what's out there, but be careful, it's dangerous. And only last week, the Dutch DPA came out with an actual warning for OpenClaw, which is the platform behind that notebook Reddit for AI agents, also saying this gives access to way too much of your information. So you should be really careful when using it. And actually, Ralph called it a worm on steroids. The Dutch DPA doesn't say this is a worm. They actually call it a Trojan horse because it sucks up so much information. So it's fascinating, but it's dangerous at the same time.
Yeah, it is. In the report that I mentioned earlier, they say, what types of actions have your AI agents performed that were beyond their intended scope? And they include, they accessed unintended systems like application services. They accessed inappropriate data that could be privileged for attorney-client, sensitive, financial, whatever. They allowed inappropriate data in there to be downloaded. So privileged, sensitive financial data can be downloaded.
Or very personal. If it's on your laptop, then it could also just be something, all your private pictures or whatsoever.
Yep. So shared inappropriate data, utilized the internet, revealed access credentials, ordered something, as you were talking about, supply chain, got fish, made restaurant reservations, whatever. And only 20% said our AI agents have never performed an unintended action. Well, sorry, that's like saying we've never had a breach. You've done it, you just don't know it yet.
Yeah. I mean, what are these things? Actually, it might even be worth going back to basics because, there might be some people listening to the podcast who, have heard the term agentic AI, but doesn't really, what is it?
Yeah, explain it to me because I'm still wrapping my head around it even.
Yeah. And whereas I'm seeing ads to create these agentic persons that will go out and work for you when you're sleeping, and they can do TikTok videos and be the person in the video doing the dance, and they can become an influencer, and they're not really a person.
Yeah, they're not a person. They are, an agent is a very good description. It's a program that you choose for a purpose that does something. So it could be simply a chatbot, or it achieves a goal, or improves from time over data. So your basic components are, you've got some sort of input, a sensor, if you like, or inputting text or via an API that is going to pull information into this AI agent. Then you've got some sort of decision-making engine in there, normally a probabilistic engine. This is, I guess, your traditional AI model that is going to take in inputs, make correlations, and decide on some sort of outputs.
So, Ralph, are you saying that the simple AI that we might have, like I pay for ChatGPT upgraded, I can create an agentic AI from ChatGPT?
I mean, OpenAI does have reasoning and natural language ability, but no, these things are things that you're going to create as almost a bit of code, a bit of computer code. So ChatGPT is its own closed environment, right? That OpenAI runs and uses. These things need to be put together and deployed. So
true. At the same time, OpenAI can write the code that you need to actually run an agent and create it somewhere else.
And the biggest advantage, the biggest jump leap forward with AI, I guess, was that you no longer need to write the code. Why is AI suddenly caught on? Because we can program the prompt in our own language, and it will give us the output in our own language.
Well, we can't see the code, so we can't have transparency. We can't disclose it to regulators or clients.
No, not completely true. If you tell AI, whether that's ChatGPT or one of the other ones, I want you to write me code so that I can have an agent that does A, B, and C, gives output X, Y, Z on a daily basis whatsoever, then that would actually, it will give you the code and you can do a code review and you can say, this should be slightly different. So it helps if you have some coding understanding. One of the things I'm testing right now is within the whole Google suite to have an agent. It's just a series of task automations, basically, but that gives me a 7 a.m. overview of the day ahead. All the meetings that I have, any clashes, any open emails, any open tasks, which are dispersed across mailboxes, to-do lists, and all of that. And then also suggest any follow-ups.
So we mentioned the input, we mentioned the decision engine. The next thing that Paul was then saying was memory, right? This thing needs to have some memory so that it can store past information, much the same as when you're in a thread on ChatGPT. It will remember the earlier prompts, so will be able to take decisions based upon your earlier inputs. I think where agentic AI really changes is the output isn't just simple like generative text. What we're doing is we're adding in tools and plugins that will allow the code to carry out searches or calculate or even press the buttons on the internet that we would press were we booking a ticket or making a phone call. So, it's those sort of modular tools that then add those, what they call them intelligence features. But what I thought was interesting when I was doing my lookup, he said add intelligence features as optional upgrades. And one of the optional upgrades was safety guardrails.
Yeah, that's...
So these things don't come as standard, right? So people will release things, you will get unintended consequences, you will get harms before people feel the need to wind them in and add those safety elements.
Who knew that tech companies would not include safeguards by default? Again, this week, there is this big California trial ongoing, right, on social media addiction. And Adam Mosseri, the CEO of Instagram, said, oh no, there is no clinical addiction to Instagram. That's not possible. But we do see a lot of problematic use. Okay, that's just putting a different label on the same thing. But he basically admitted that there is such a thing as using too much social media and that they are actually responsible for making that people do that they have not put in place the right guardrails. And I fear that similar things may happen with the way AI developments are going if we are not careful.
Well, and if you're looking for news on agentic AI, just search for it online. Unlocking enterprise data to accelerate agentic AI, how Ab Initio does it 11 minutes ago. NICE unveils the agentic AI CX frontline report delivering the first quantifiable something 25 minutes ago. Agentic AI nearshoring redefines Mexico's 2026 tech ship an hour ago. Cloudflare accelerating growth in times of agentic AI 2 hours ago. It's everywhere, but the average person doesn't understand it.
And the average person doesn't pay for AI, so would not have the optionally security upgrade containing the guardrails. And then also here, there is a role for regulators under privacy by design, privacy by default to make sure that these systems, when they go to market, actually function with the proper guardrails. And it is also important that the EU AI Act enters into effect sooner rather than later, so no pushback of those entry into effect dates, as proposed in the Digital AI Omnibus. Hurry up with the guidance and make sure that those laws can be applied, because we need those guardrails to be in place by default.
And it's so easy to do. Going into an example, ChatGPT, you can say to ChatGPT, write me an agentic AI in 100 lines of code in Python that, deletes my old emails. And it'll come up with the code. And then you can type into ChatGPT, how do I deploy this? And it will tell you to open the terminal on your computer, copy and paste the code in, and hit return.
Yeah. And where is the code review?
Exactly. Yeah. Where are the guardrails? Where is the safety? And if you do that, I mean, yes, you could customize the config by saying how many days do I choose my deletion and how often does it run?
Or maybe take a second AI like Google Gemini and say, hey, can you review this code for me to see whether it's correct?
But, it's that easy to be able to run locally that, I can see somebody doing that and then wondering where all their emails have gone, right?
Yeah. So let's bring it back to the beginning. We're given the site to people of what agentic AI is, and I'm pretty sure most of you still have no idea how to go create an agentic AI, and you might be creating them accidentally. Maybe you're not creating the person that dances on TikTok to make you lots of money while you're sleeping.
If you want to know what that looks like, just look at case socials, then maybe you will get an idea.
I don't do TikTok. There we go. I'm trying to get my puppy famous. That's about it. If I can make $10,000 a month off my puppy, Pixie LeBlue, feel free to go look for her on Instagram. She's absolutely adorable.
You do know that puppies stop being puppies after 6 months, right?
Yeah, she's probably not a puppy anymore then, because I think she's 8 months. 8 months old, maybe. I might have to calculate that. But she and her sister Bella, which is the Bichon Frenchie mix, so we call her a Frenchie Freeze. Anyway, they're adorable. They're actually adorable. I suck at taking videos of them and posting them on social media. So maybe I do need an agentic AI to scroll through my videos and pictures and post them. But whatever, back to reality. How does a company prevent agentic AI from doing all these things?
It doesn't.
I mean, every company probably has at least one person that knows how to do it.
The honest answer is it doesn't.
Besides the old adage of training and awareness and discipline and enforcement, yeah, I mean, you're going to have people out there who can very quickly and easily, with very little technical knowledge, create and deploy things. So this is just another risk. Well, this is the point.
The only company that can avoid this are the sole traders, because they are responsible themselves for everything that they do, and they can force themselves not to use it. But any company of a serious size, I think indeed training and awareness is important. I think good security controls and network monitoring are important. Access control, who has data to what, making sure that it is not a free-for-all on your drives and in your systems, but completely avoiding that people are going to do this. Honestly, I don't believe that is possible. It needs to come from training and awareness, and that also means making sure that you should assume people will do this. So then you better make sure that you train them on how to do this responsibly and make use of AI literacy and making sure that people understand also the technology behind it and the do's and don'ts and indeed the guardrails also that you want to put in place as an organization. Because otherwise, I don't see, without completely locking down access to certain websites, how you would be able to do this.
People will spend the time to go around your blocks. That's what happens. If you block gmail.com, they'll find a way to go to inbox.gmail.com. They'll always find a way behind. They'll probably ask AI to do it.
Also because new technology is exciting and people want to experiment and want to see what the buzz is all about. And I can't blame people for that.
And the newest generation of professionals are bringing in, we've talked about this before, they're bringing in the tools that they're comfortable working with. They're excited. They don't understand these archaic rules that we fall under. But that means that if you're doing training, which you should be doing, and awareness, you have to change your training methodologies to meet the personnel that you're addressing. So we're about my company to roll out little 1-minute reels like you would see on social media. And we're calling it real privacy for real people for real issues. Real being the REEL.
Of course.
Paul mocked me with that before.
I didn't.
If you say it with the Southern accent, real privacy for real people Anyway, we're going to roll that out with my little mascot or whatever, trying to meet the way newer professionals absorb information. They absorb it quickly. You know, if it's a 30-minute video, they're like, whatever, watch the video, do your work over here. Yep. Press the button, go watch the video. Yep. They're not paying attention. We know that.
I've even heard of people taking the recording and the transcript and the slides from a town hall, throwing that into Notebook LM to get a 20-minute podcast in return. because it saves them 40 minutes. Yeah, AI is also podcasting now. So also our profession is endangered.
Yeah. We're starting to see it a lot on YouTube videos with sort of monotonous AI voices where we've started to see them, where people are just generating content through AI. I don't know about you, but I just miss talking to you two too much.
Yeah, that's what I said at the start. So we've come full circle.
There we go. And that's a good place to end on.
Exactly. Talk next week.
Bye, y'all.
Goodbye.
Now that was serious privacy. Please subscribe on your favorite podcast app and leave us a review. You can find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Blue Sky as Serious Privacy. Feel free to drop us a question or a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No, that's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data and get credible, cited answers based on NIMBY research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.